So we're here today at the fantastic MPE show in Berlin once again. Today I'm sat with David Parker, who's the CEO and founder of Polymath Consulting. David, lovely to have you on board.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be here. It's obviously an exciting time, and it was always great to talk to the Payments Power 50 team. So these days I am, as you said, CEO of Polymath Consulting. I'm also sitting on a number of boards and still working in the startup and fintech space overall. So it's a dynamic time in the market and one which is certainly very exciting.
Brilliant. Thank you for that intro, David. Right, we're going to move straight in. We've got a few topics to cover and we're going to kick off with regulation. I know it's a personal friend of yours, if you like. What would you say are the sort of big changes happening on the international regulatory framework at the moment?
Well, I suppose one thing we're seeing from regulators is that they are saying that, and I say this globally, a lot of regulators are saying, well, that's great, you onboarded the customer 6 months ago or a year ago, or you checked this, but we're living in a 24/7 world. You checked a customer 6 months ago, 12 months ago, but how do you know it hasn't changed since then? The world is very dynamic these days. So we're seeing regulators looking for more and more refreshing of the data and everything else, which is putting a lot of stresses on companies. So for instance, one of the companies I sit on the board of, KYP, actually effectively does 24/7, 365 monitoring, dark web, adverse media, PEP sanctions, all together into effectively a risk orchestration box. And I think what regulators are seeing is that's what they're expecting. They're expecting companies to know their customers, not as in know their customers what they were a year ago or 18 months ago, but what they were last week, yesterday. They want to know and understand that that customer is who he says he was, and he hasn't now turned his website that was selling jumpers into a machine gun or porn site. You know, and they don't expect you to wait 6 months to find that out. They expect you to know that within days. That means 24/7 monitoring. And I think we're seeing a push by regulators to much more understand who your customers are, not when you onboarded them, but today. And I think that puts a lot more pressure on everyone out there.
Okay, that's very interesting. I guess that's a turn of events insofar as it's very understandable at the speed that everything's moving. Talking about speed that things are moving, let's move on to the story about open banking. Variable recurring payments in particular. I know that in the UK, a market you're particularly familiar with, there's been some pretty big changes around VRPs. What are your thoughts and feelings there?
Well, yeah, I mean, Europe is, whether you want to use the term mothballed or shall we say stuttering, I think might be honest. You know, PSD3 is moving ahead slowly, and I'm sure you'll talk to some much more expert people than me on it. But, you know, that's going to take a while to come to fruition. In the UK, on the other hand, we now have CVRP, Commercial Very Recurring Payments. Phase 1 is going live fairly soon. We have a managing director appointed. We have a board appointed. The commercial model outline's been published. So things are starting to gather speed. It's not there yet. It's only phase 1. It's very safe and very, safe sort of recurring payments. But, you know, you can sort of see light at the end of the tunnel of where we're moving to introducing real variable recurring payments. Now, why is that so exciting? Well, this will be real competition for card on file and direct debit, of course. And we all know that subscriptions have major issues with card on file and declines and everything else. So the potential for this to take a significant share of that business is very real and very exciting. But it is still going to be, 6, 12 months away, and merchants but they need to start thinking and planning for it now.
Okay, interesting to know that, and good to hear that there's more competition coming in particular around direct debits, etc. Okay, so it's still early, it's still day one, but we've got to talk about agentic commerce. I'm going to keep it as broad as I like. What are your thoughts on agentic commerce?
Let's break your life, my life, into two different groups. There's shopping we really want to do, we enjoy. But I guarantee you, 85%, 75% of the shopping you do is shopping you do because you have to, not because you want to. So you've got a great shirt there, sir. Now, if you wanted another one of that shirts, Agentic would know what size, what brand it is, and where to find it. well, it can go and sort that for you. Buy me another one. You don't need to go into the store, hunt around for it, see if they've got it in stock. Oh, they're saying it will be in stock soon. Wait till it comes back in stock. Agentic will just take care of all that for you. Likewise, if I want to use my Avios miles, that, as we all know, is mission impossible. Toilet paper is more useful. But Avios, because you've got to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to see if the flights have been released. Why? In Agentic, I'm just going to say, right, I want to go to this location as soon as the flights become available. I've got to take a train trip. I want to take the night train from St Ives back to London in October. The train tickets are not released yet. It's not something I'm looking forward to. Why can't Agentic just keep an eye on it? When it becomes available, book it for me. It's a hassle for me. So these are purchasing behaviors I need to do, but I don't necessarily enjoy doing. Now, for retailers, this is going to become an issue, because if now you've got people using bots a lot more through APIs and everything else, they're not going to be browsing the sites. They're not, these bots will go in and they know exactly what they want and exactly what size. They don't care. It says buy 2, get third one free. They said, no, the boss told me buy 1 shirt. That's what I'm buying. So there's a big change in retailers, and I'm not sure retailers are thinking about it. Now, how long are we away? I think we're probably a good 2 or 3 years more away from this. As of today, the AI agentic commerce can't even look up live train times and stuff like that because the APIs haven't been built for it yet. The question comes is, how are these enterprise level retail platforms going to move in that direction? And are they actually going to want to move in that direction? In other words, is ABC brand that sells shirts going to say, no, we're not going to let the bots come in and do this because we want to force you to come on our site. Now, does that mean actually I'm going to tell my bot, go and find the shirt somewhere else because I still can't be bothered? Or does it mean I'm going to do it myself? Interesting question. How much do I really care about that particular shirt? Or how much am I willing to take one that's similar, but my bot can take care of it for me? So I think there's some interesting challenges over the next 3 to 5 years on that. And for merchants, I think it's going to be a real challenging time to balance that bot purchase versus human interaction versus how to get humans interacting and everything else. So I think there's a real challenging time coming ahead. Now, of course, from a fraud perspective, well, the bots can talk to each other and make sure they feel comfortable that it isn't a fraud. That also becomes interesting. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I've similarly heard interesting conversations around how merchants might position themselves, and that might be a humans-only interface, if you like,
yes,
versus those that will just go, I just want to sell stuff, and maybe that ends up being the type of merchant that you are.
But it's 2 different types of merchants and environments and everything else. I think that's where it gets very interesting.
Exactly. David, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure seeing you.
It's been a pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of the show.